Welcome to day 17 of our Excel in 60 Days Mastery Challenge. Today, we'll be discussing about how to use Excel transpose function. So let's begin by defining what transpose in Excel does. Transpose is a function that flips the orientation of your data. That is to say, rows become columns and columns become rows. We have three methods we'll be looking at today. Let's begin with method one. Method one, we will be using the static transpose in the paste special. So we have a data set before us here. So to achieve the static transpose, we will copy the data set, right? So let's come to this J column now. Click there, right click, and go to paste special, right? In paste special, you will come to transpose. Click on transpose, and you see that we have successfully transposed our data. So we have converted rows to columns and columns to rows. Okay. So one challenge with this is that there is no connection between this data set and this. So it's not dynamic. So if I were to change a value here, say I change this to 500, which is this YAM value, right, under yield. If I hit enter, you see that it doesn't change. It's still 1,200 instead of changing to the new 500. So that is the downside of this transpose. So, but if it's on a simple small data that you just want to change the orientation, this will be good to go. All right. The second method is the dynamic transpose. And for us to do the dynamic transpose, we have to use the function transpose. All right, so let's use the dynamic transpose now. But before you use the dynamic transpose, you will have to look at your data because we want to select the destination range with the exact opposite dimension of our source. So this is our source. What is the characteristics of our source? Since we are transposing, changing columns to rows and rows to columns, so we basically should count, right? We have 21 rows, right? And we have 4 columns, right? What we need to do now is to highlight the opposite, right? So from here, I will highlight up to 21 columns instead of rows. We have 21 rows here. Here, I'll highlight 21 columns. So with this highlighted, I will come to the formula bar and say equals transpose, okay? Open parentheses, and I want to enter my array, that is my range. So I can either click, hold, and drag to cover my entire table, or I can just enter the range directly, A1 to D21. So I close my parentheses. So if you are using an old Excel version, I'm using Excel 21. If you are using Excel 21, you go ahead and hit enter now. You'll get your results. If you're using an older Excel version, hold down Control Shift and enter to get your results. So let's get our results. So you can see our transposed table now, right? We have basically transposed our table. But one good thing with this transpose is that it is dynamic. You see, if I were to change this value here to 1,000 and hit enter, you see it's going to reflect immediately here. Okay, that makes it dynamic because it's still connected to the data source. So let's use the third method now. And the third method will mean that we'll be using Power Query. So to use Power Query, click anywhere within your data set. And let's go to our data tab, okay? You head on to your data tab. And because you have your data open on your spreadsheet, click on from table slash range. So click there. It will convert our range to a table. Make sure you always check that my table has headers, especially if your table does have headers like what we have here now. And ensure that the range is correct, right? Because it ought to wrap your entire data set, just as we've done here. Then go ahead and click OK. So it will open now the Power Query editor. So this is the Power Query editor, okay? Now we have the Power Query editor opened. The next thing is for you to go to your Transform tab. Then on your Transform tab, you will see Transpose, okay? Click on Transpose, okay? You see that your table has been transposed, you see? As you've transposed it now, you now need to load it back to Microsoft Excel. So you can load both in Home or under File. So on the Home tab, you see Close and Load. Click on Close and Load to load your transposed data into Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So you do this, like I said, when you have large data sets, okay? So remember to subscribe and share the video to as many people as possible to join the learning challenge. I guess the transpose was straight to the point, right?